When you pick a cruise destination like one of these, what countries are on your bucket list? Here are 7 reasons why Italy should be on your list. Welcome to my travel window, where it's our personal mission to help you fill out your bucket list while you've still got a bucket. Why should you take a cruise to Italy? Let's get right into the reasons. Reason number 1, art. Do you know what a UNESCO World Heritage Site is? These are the sites around the world that are deemed as having the highest universal value and most worth saving and protecting. There's about 1,200 of them around the world. 59 of these are in Italy, more than any other country. UNESCO has been quoted as saying that 60% of the fine art treasures of the world are found in Italy. Many of these, half of these, in the city of Florence. Now, many people dispute this number vehemently, pointing to the vast amount of art in Asia. But most would probably agree that it has one of the highest concentrations of fine art anywhere in the world. Why is that? Well, first, because the Italians created most of it. Beginning with the Romans and going on through the Renaissance, many of the world's great artists were Italians. Leonardo da Vinci, Raphael, Donatello, Michelangelo. That's more than just the names of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They were arguably 4 of the greatest painters and sculptors in history. They're all Italian, and their works are strewn across the Italian landscape. The Last Supper, the Statue of David, the Sistine Chapel, the Pietà, and dozens of more of their works are on display here. More importantly, Italy had the power to keep their artwork and to bring it in other comparable works from around the world. Roman Catholic popes amassed a fantastic art collections. They consolidated them in the Vatican within Rome. The Medici family in Florence collected superb art from around the world, and the Uffizi Gallery is one of the finest collections of artwork in the entire world. But it's not just Rome and Florence. If you travel anywhere in Italy and do not find world classic art, you had to work to avoid it. Reason number 2, food. If you Google best food in Europe, 2 countries will jump to the top of the list, France and Italy. When put to a vote, Italy generally wins. Spain often comes in second or third in this process. I've been to more than 20 countries in my life, and I've eaten excellent meals in virtually all of them. But if I had to pick one place to go just because of the food, it would be Italy. Pizza was invented in Naples. Italy has raised pasta to an art form. Tuscan wines and morning cappuccinos are wonderful. But for me, there's 4 things that stand out among Italian food. Number 1 is the simplicity. Most Italian dishes are not incredibly complex. They often have only 3 or 4 ingredients, but the flavor is incredible because of the precision that went into the preparation. Number 2, freshness. Italians are masters of creating dishes with what's ripe and available that day. Good local restaurants don't have pre-printed menus in Italy. They post a limited, hand-printed menu of the day that's based on the meat and vegetables that were purchased or harvested that day. Noodles are selected that best pair with the dish of the day. Experience this for a week, you'll never want to go back. Number 3, regional variety. Rich Steves co-authored a book about Italian food, partnering with food expert Fred Plotkin. In it, they describe 20 different Italian food regions. I haven't tried all 20, but I can tell you that each region has its own distinctive dishes. Some of these are unique in sauces, pastas. All of them are worth trying. Number 4, ambiance. It's not unusual for us to spend a week in Italy and never dine indoors. The standard for Italian fare is small restaurants with at least a portion of the table set up al fresco on the sidewalk or in front of the place. If you were told that you could choose to be any place on earth for your last meal, where would you select and why? For me, I would pick an outdoor restaurant in a small town in Italy. And when the waiter comes to get my order, I would say, "What's good today?" And whatever he says, I'll say, "I'll have that." Reason number 3, scenery. Okay, you're not an art critic. You're not a foodie. You like spectacular nature scenery? Italy has you covered. Once again, the choice is incredibly varied. Italy has hundreds of miles of incredibly scenic shoreline. Its northern reaches include the most spectacular sections of the Alps called the Dolomites. There's beautiful lakes, they're dotted with historic towns. There are gorgeous agricultural settings, but perhaps it would be best to just show you. Before I go to reason number 4, I want to thank all of our subscribers. After just over 2 years as a channel, we hit our 1,000 subscriber mark this week. I really appreciate each one of you. And if you enjoy content like this and are not a subscriber, it'd be a good time to do that. Be sure to hit the notification button as well so you'll be notified about new videos that we post on approximately a weekly basis. Okay, back to reason number 4, music. How many Italian singers have you heard in your life? You might be surprised. Let me name just a few. Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, John Bon Jovi, Frankie Avalon, Lady Gaga, Madonna, Bobby Darin, Bruce Springsteen, Selena Gomez, Jim Croce, Frankie Valli, Pavarotti, Caruso, Andrea Bocelli. You get the picture. Opera was invented here, and singing seems to be infused into the Italian psyche. There are famous things that you could do in Italy that you probably can't do anywhere else. I'm not a big opera fan. When my kids were growing up, I used to refer to it as death by music. But sometimes the venue makes all the difference. Many of the classic operas are performed in Italy in iconic outdoor settings. My wife and I had the privilege of hearing La Traviata in a 2,000-year-old Colosseum in the city of Verona. It was one of the most memorable evenings of my life. Venice is another location where operas are performed in a magnificent setting. I wouldn't watch opera anywhere else. But more important than that is the ever-present sound of pleasant music wherever you go in Italy. Sometimes it's Sinatra singing in English. Sometimes it'll be a busker, unannounced, walking through the restaurant, playing an accordion, or just singing a cappella. We had this experience in Rome, in Naples, at least 2 other locations. I love it. Reason number 5, architecture. What's the first visual image that comes to mind when you think of Italy? For most people, it's the Colosseum, a massive 1st century structure that's one of the most famous architectural landmarks in the world. Maybe it's St. Peter's Basilica, the largest Catholic church in the world. The architecture you'll find here is not the modern type that you'll see in London or Dubai. It's largely of the period between ancient Rome and the Renaissance. But there's a lot of it. And you cannot go anywhere in the country without finding spectacular examples. Here's just a few. Reason number 6, culture. Are you convinced yet? Up to now, everything we've talked about is something that you see or hear. But what about the things that you feel? On our last trip to Italy, we wandered into the display room of a company that makes fine inlaid wood jewelry chests. We listened as the proprietor described the process for making these. His family had done it for generations. He went into great detail as to the painstaking steps involved in the creation of the final product. We wound up buying one for a family member. Incredible workmanship. This is not a unique example. In Bari, we watched a lady hand-forming pasta using a method that's passed down through generations. In Vietri-sur-Mer, we watched a craftsman painting ceramics in one of a dozen or more family-owned studios. In Carrara, we watched young craftsmen learning to carve marble that came from the same quarry from which Michelangelo selected his material. There is a connection with family and a connection with the past, and particularly with the craftsmanship of the past, that I don't regularly see in many other places. There is a groundedness that you have to see to understand. I could tell you about it, but you really need to go and feel it. Okay, finally, reason number 7, accessibility. So what's the last reason to experience Italy? Because you can. It's physically and financially very accessible. There are non-stop flights from the East Coast to Milan, Rome, and Venice, each taking 8 or 9 hours. Or you could choose a closer destination and pick Italy as a stop on the route. With more than a dozen major cruise ports, you can sample all parts of the country. Once you're there, you have a choice of literally thousands of cruise options. I Googled this yesterday. Over the next 12 months, there are over 1,900 cruises that will sail out of Italian ports. Thousands more that stop there but originate elsewhere. So you have no excuse for not having availability. When you arrive, you're going to find a welcoming populace. Over 10% of Italy's GDP is based on tourism, and they're great hosts. If you're afraid to plan a trip yourself, you can easily see much of Italy via inexpensive cruises. While they appreciate your attempts to speak Italian, you can go anywhere in the country and not have great difficulty speaking only English. Lodging and dining locations are abundant, they're affordable. If you want to explore life beyond cruise ports, a good train system connects the country, and major cities have great public transportation systems within them. We've visited over 24 Italian cities and towns. We've never once rented a car. Although if I go to Tuscany, I might do that. So there you have it. So much to see and do. So little cost and effort. Have I convinced you yet? If I have, check out this video next. Until next time, safe travels.